A voice passed down, the story of David Phelps and his daughter Callie. David Phelps had always been known for his incredible voice, one that soared effortlessly from rich, warm lows to breathtaking highs. Audiences around the world were moved by his performances, not just because of his vocal ability, but because of the emotion and passion he poured into every note. But behind the spotlight and the standing ovations, David was a father, one who saw something extraordinary budding in his own home. Her name was Callie. From a young age, Callie Phelps was drawn to music, like a flower to sunlight. While most little girls were learning nursery rhymes, Callie was harmonizing with her dad in the living room, mimicking his runs, and asking questions about breathing and tone. David didn't push her into music. He simply welcomed her into his world. And in doing so, he lit a spark in her that would never go out. He taught her the foundations, not just of music, but of ministry. He would say, "Singing is a gift, but the real power is in why you sing. It's the heart behind the sound." Callie listened, learned, and slowly began stepping into her own voice. As the years went by, she started joining David on stage, singing backup during concerts. Audiences began to notice not only her vocal strength, but the sweet harmony of a father and daughter sharing the same calling. She stood just behind him, adding texture to his voice and presence to the music. It wasn't about spotlight, it was about service. David, proud but humble, would often smile during shows when she sang. "It's one of the greatest joys of my life," he said in interviews, "to travel with my daughter and see her find her own voice in the music." Callie grew, not just as a singer, but as an artist and worshiper. And while she had every opportunity to step into center stage on her own, she chose to walk alongside her father, growing from his legacy, but writing her own story. Now, when David Phelps takes the stage, you'll often find Callie nearby, whether singing backup or standing by his family, holding a part of the legacy that continues to inspire the world. Because in the end, the story of David and Callie Phelps is more than just about music. It's about love. It's about legacy. And it's about a father who built up his daughter, not for fame, but for faith.
Your kids are good.
I'm very proud of my kids. That's something that you and I have in common, is that we just love harmony. Of course, my family grew up singing, so I've tried to pass that on to my kids. I actually sat down at the piano when my oldest was 4, when Callie was 4, and thought, can I teach her harmony?
Yeah.
And in 2 short little sessions, as far as her attention span would go, she had it.
Yeah.
And I thought, wow, that's amazing. And then I ran out of time with the other ones, and she taught the other ones. but I love to teach them songs like the Holy, Holy, Holy. It's just...
Schubert wrote that. That's a pretty good praise and worship tune,
absolutely,
is it not?
Is. Absolutely, it is.
And which one of them sings with you on this song?
Maggie Beth sings with me on this song. And I have to tell you, I worked on this song for about 1.5 years, writing it. And when I started it, I didn't have Maggie Beth in mind for this duet. She kept telling us she wanted to be a vet. And then all of a sudden one day, we noticed that she would go up to her room and turn on, she loves singing Broadway and some classical things, and she would start singing, and we were like, wow, she's really getting into this. And a month, 3 months, 6 months later, we're like, she is doing this every single day.
How old is she?
She's 14. She was 13 at the time when she started doing that. And I remember one day I was walking through the house, and I stopped at the bottom of the stairs and was listening to her, and my jaw just dropped. I couldn't believe the notes and the fullness in her voice. And her choir director he called me one time and said, "Did you know Maggie Beth hit a high D today?"
She's amazing.
She's just
amazing.
It just has come out of nowhere for us. And
when you sent that to me, I said, "Who is that singer?"
I know, we were just as shocked. I didn't want to get her hopes up, and so I asked my wife Lori. I said, "How do I do this and get her in there to see if she can do it?" And she kind of helped me through that. And I got her into the studio, and after 2 hours, we had recorded the take for the record. I was absolutely just blown away, and it's truly a God-given gift.
I love it. I love it.
His daughter, Maggie Beth, from the time she was little, Maggie Beth was never far from the sound of music. It filled their home like a second language. Piano chords echoing to the hallways, vocal warm-ups in the mornings, and spontaneous jam sessions in the living room. But Maggie Beth wasn't just listening. She was learning. David quickly noticed Maggie Beth had the voice. Not just a sweet little girl's tune, but real, raw musicality. She had pitch, rhythm, and, most importantly, the ability to feel a song. David never forced her into music, but gently nurtured the gift he saw growing in her. He began inviting her to sing backup vocals, not just in practice, but on stage, real stages. When Maggie Beth stepped into the lights beside her father, something special happened. Her voice blended beautifully with his, softening and strengthening the music in a way that only a daughter could. She became a part of his concerts, not just his family, but as an artist in her own right. Fans began to notice, who's that singing with David? They'd ask. She sounds just like him. And they were right. Maggie Beth didn't just inherit his voice. She inherited his heart for music and ministry. David, in interviews and behind the scenes, beams with pride when he talks about her. It's one thing to sing with people you admire, he once said, but to sing with your daughter, that's a joy I can't describe. Through the years, Maggie Beth has continued to sing with her dad on stage and on recordings, learning not only the art of music, but the heart of worship. And though she could very well carve a solo career, she's chosen for now to walk alongside her father, blending her future with his legacy. Together, David and Maggie Beth Phelps create something more than music. They create moments where family, faith, and song meet in perfect harmony. Because sometimes the most beautiful melodies are the ones sung in unity, father and daughter, heart to heart, lifting one voice to heaven. As the years passed, David didn't just see his daughters sing. He saw them grow into women of character and conviction. On stage, they stood side by side. Off stage, they lived the truths they sang about. And for David, that was the greatest reward. To sing with your children is one thing. To see them carry the message in their hearts, that's legacy. Today, when David Phelps performs, it's not just a show, it's a family reunion of sound. Maggie Beth and Callie often appear with him, not as backup singers, but as co-bearers of sacred calling. Because in the house that David built, voices weren't just trained, they were treasured. And now, the world gets to hear what happens when a father's song becomes his daughter's harmony.
You know, if you live long enough, you finally start figuring out what is important and what are the things I should spend my time doing, especially after you have kids. Sooner or later, life will get your attention as to say, why am I spending so much time doing this or doing that? And you finally figure out little things mean a lot, right?
They do. Perspective.
Yeah, it really
Perspective,
is.
that's one of your big words, isn't it?
It really is.
I heard someone say the other day about perspective, how at first things seemed really important, and then later on, that down the road they kind of lose their importance. It's kind of like the other day I was getting ice out of the refrigerator door, and some fell on the floor, and I kicked it under the fridge, Lori got onto my back. She was just getting on to me. I said, like, we're gonna move the refrigerator in a couple of months and clean under there, and you're gonna say, where'd all this ice come from? It just loses it. It loses its importance after a little while, and you just gotta have a perspective about.
How did she take that?
I said it from underneath the bed. So. I don't know, I couldn't see her face.
But you know what, I really do think it takes the time for couples to figure out what is important in life. I mean, what should we spend our time, doing and paying attention to? Yeah.
It really is true. I look at my kids. We just try to spend as much time with them as possible, and in the middle of doing all that we do, in and out, how could anything be more important than that?